I guess what we're seeing is a shift from purely aesthetic and transactional to more emotional and experiential retailing. I guess this is driven by consumers seeking moments that they want to make feel something. And we think physical retail has a really unique power to create those moments. And obviously a few things have contributed to that. So online shopping's made it less necessary to visit a store, but then also COVID then sort of accelerated it. So there's a lot of investment in that. And so I guess physical retail transformed. It's come back in a sort of different way, really. And we feel like it's more like the place of connection between the brand and the consumer. A strong focus on omnichannel, so really integrated now. So integrating physical, digital, and social, and creating like an ecosystem. D&P's been leading the shift, really, I guess, from retail design to experience design over the last 10 years or so, creating richer, more interactive, and more digitally enabled environments that make people feel something for the brand they're interacting with. Take EE Studio, for example. That was reinventing the role of telco retail and really giving space back to the consumer, creating a kind of third space aimed at discovery, great coffee, events, a community, learning. Because telco stores have become kind of redundant in the modern age. What do people really need to do in a telco store? So he kind of flipped it and made it a place about learning about technology, about what it can do for me. So we have live demos in a comfortable environment, all kind of technology enabled, very subtle. And then another big part of the strategy really was gaming. So that's another great use case for fast broadband. So, improving the speed, but also creating an exciting and an engaging in-store experience. A lot more work with interactive elements. So different ways, and we've used a lot of projection mapping, a lot of kind of magical ways of having content delivered, which is really interesting. We're using AR, QR codes, customers' own devices are really important now because nobody's really going into a store and touching a touchscreen and doing anything. They don't really work in that way. So if you can get people using their own device, that's really important. We've done a lot of work in storytelling. So Twinings is a project that we did in London. It's one of the oldest stores in London. It's from 1706 and it's tiny. You can touch both walls with your hands. The magic is in some little small storytelling moments throughout that, kind of pockets of interest. And we're using multi-sensory design there. So it's either sound, it's projection, it's light. You pull a drawer and you get some kind of conversation. These are all ways of bringing technology in a way that is not kind of in your face. I think the big one probably is that if you installing it is the job done. It's only really the start. All you're doing is creating a canvas, and then obviously the work then is to make that work really well. I'd say that's the biggest one. Clients come to us and say, I want technology, I want it to look very high tech in here. And you say, okay, well, what content have you have? What stories are you going to tell? And that's when it goes a bit quiet. I guess a lot of fast food chains are moving to this sort of touchscreen. That feels quite cold to me, and it feels like everyone's just standing at the screen. But when you're talking about a community brand that has an app that people can sign up to events, and then they go to the physical space and they meet real people, I see that as like working together in harmony. And that's a much better way to think about it. So technology is like the backbone, it's the enabler, it holds everyone together. And then the joy is through human to human connection. And if we get the tech right on that end, then it frees up staff as well to have a better kind of relationship. If we want them to have a warm human experience, then we don't create cold digital space that isn't talking to you. I guess the big thing now, the big kind of challenge and therefore opportunity is cutting through in a very noisy and saturated market And that clarity of thought, what the brand stands for, doing something that's deliberately different and not trend driven and very focused, is a real way of kind of standing out, skipping everything else and leaving all the kind of very similar kind of brands out. You need to be memorable, and I think a lot of consumers don't really have that much love and care for a lot of brands, and you need to rise above that and become something that's really stand out. These days, design alone is not enough, right? You need to connect the strategy, design, digital, and this is the way we work. We're fully integrated, and we have done for a few years. And this approach then fuels kind of purpose-driven design. So think about the consumer need, about the culture and context of the brand, what's happening, and how can we create something that is this kind of rich experience that we're talking about. Stores need like life and interaction. And so we need to think about the end-to-end customer experience. So you need to think about the customer journey, what happens online, what happens in social, how does that affect how people are in store, and then also the relationship that happens afterwards in a kind of holistic view of that consumer. A lot of companies can work in separate divisions, in silos, but for this experiential element to work, we have to connect everyone together. So we asked to create a cross-functional team on their side, and that represents customer, brand, marketing, retail, property, design. And when that happened, that's when the magic happened. And I guess the most successful projects are with clients that are open to working together. We sometimes find that when we set up a kind of project team on the client side, that's sometimes the only time they ever work together. So we've managed to get all these people together, stitch it all together. And as I say, it's really quite magical when it happens to get all of those people talking and connecting. And then we're almost like the glue that holds it all together in that sense. We believe that technology should always serve a purpose. It shouldn't just be there to kind of, for the sake of it, it shouldn't be a gimmick. Because ultimately you're going to have to spend money to keep it fresh, keep the content alive. So we kind of see it as more of an enabler than the kind of the star of the show, if you know what I mean. So it's great to have a large format screen. It can be a canvas for great imagery, but if you don't keep it updated, then, you know, there's no point having it. You might as well do something else. So at the start, we need to make sure that technology is really integrated. You know, all of it's an important part of design, and it shouldn't be a bolt-on. So we shouldn't kind of see that later. The market in India is evolving rapidly. I think it's on a real transformation. I think it's obviously places like the UK and the US have obviously always been kind of ahead, but I think generally places like India now are really kind of catching up and becoming much more aware. So clients are much more, as you were saying, where are they on that kind of cycle? I think everybody's moving forward. Everyone's very catching up very quickly, and I think we'll, you know, be in a really interesting place.